So you're thinking about joining the Navy as a Master at Arms, or you just arrived in Lackland and you want to know what to expect from your training? Well, you came to the right place, because I'm going to go through the entirety of MA training, A school to C school, the entire process from leaving boot camp all the way to getting to your first command. And I'm going to give advice about the whole process and mistakes to avoid based on my own experience. So after graduation from RTC, we got a short little liberty, which means you can leave the base for a while, and then we came back and basically immediately started packing up to leave RTC forever. So after helping one of my friends pack up to leave, I went to sleep at 2300, which is 11 o'clock at night in civilian time. And I woke up at 1 in the morning, just a couple of hours later, to my RDC banging on my rack, my bed, with his foot. And that means it's time to leave. So I got back into my dress whites, I grabbed my bags, and we all walked down the hallway to the quarterdeck, which is like the room that's leading to the main entrance and exit of the building. From there, we got onto some buses that immediately took us from RTC directly to O'Hare Airport in Chicago. And on a flight from there, we arrived to San Antonio, Texas, which is where the A school for both HM and for Master at Arms is located. The best advice I can give you for this time period is to stick with the other MAs from your division that are going to the same place you are. You don't have to go there alone. Travel as a group, and then you know that all of you got there safely. The other thing I would say is spend some time with the other people from your division that are not going to the same A school you are, because you may never see them ever again. They're going to other A schools all over the country, so spend some time with them there at the airport if you can. Have lunch with them or something, because it may be the last time you see them the rest of your career. So we got on the plane, we arrived in San Antonio, and once we got there were a couple of vans waiting for us at the airport, and they took us to NTTC Lackland, Naval Technical Training Center, Lackland, which is a small little section of the Air Force Base at Lackland Air Force Base, which is the same place that the Air Force has their basic training, their boot camp. We got picked up by a first class from the airport, and some of the guys were calling her petty officer, and she's like, "Don't call me that anymore, call me MA1, and basically what I'm trying to say is, forget all the boot camp talk. There's no more hoo-yah, aye shipmates, belay my last. Leave all that boot camp talk at RTC. You graduated boot camp, congratulations. It's time to move on to the real Navy and how it actually works. Leave RTC talk at RTC." So the bus made it to A school. We arrived there, we got off the bus, we went into the orientation room that they set up. It's like tables and chairs, and a couple of people talk to you. But they understood that people were really sleepy. So after we did some preliminary paperwork, they sent us to our rooms and told us to come back the next day. Anyways, we woke up the next day and we went to the NEX, the Navy Exchange. Everybody calls it the NEX, and that goes for the real world out here too. You go to the NEX. Now, I'm going to say now, don't buy anything massive like televisions or Xboxes and PlayStations and all kinds of really expensive large items that you have to remember that you're only at A school for a very short period of time, and now is not the time to go out and make all kinds of grand purchases, especially something like a car, when you're only there for a very short period of time and then you leave. The last thing you want to do is take all the pay you've accumulated up until now and just blow it all in A school, and then you have nothing to show for it. On the other hand, some people did make the mistake of buying a lot of large items or a huge quantity of items, and if you know some people that are leaving soon, you can talk to them and get some stuff for really cheap or for free, because they have really no alternative. Or they'll just leave it behind. Like, one of my friends walked into his new room and there was a PlayStation 4 under his bed. Anyways, when you get to the NEX, only buy essential items, like the brown boots. Like, these boots are a little overpriced at Lackland, but they are a world of difference over the ones they give you in boot camp. The big, heavy black boots, don't throw them away, because you're still going to need them if you go to a ship. But the brown boots for training are so much better, you're not going to regret it. Next up, your room is going to need some internet. And you're also going to need some food and water for your room. Get some soda, and maybe you want some soda because you haven't had it for a long time. Personally, I quit soda, but it's not a bad idea to have some stuff in your room to eat, and we're going to get into why in a little bit. The next thing to be concerned about is the JQR packet. So they're going to give you a packet, and in that packet, you're going to fill out a bunch of information answering questions, and then it's going to get signed off by individuals of rank around the base. And when I say of rank, I mean like a second class or a first class chief, something like that. The point of the packet is that once it's filled out, you can have liberty. You get out of phase 1 liberty, you get to phase 2 and phase 3. So phase 1 liberty, you have to stay in uniform. You have to stay in your peanut butter uniform, the NSUs, and it attracts you unwanted attention if you're in it off base. My friends and I went off base in phase 1 liberty, so we had to wear our NSU uniform, and some people out in town thought we were Marines or something, and it attracts you unwanted attention. Get Phase 2 and Phase 3 Liberty as soon as you can, plus the time that you have to come back at night improves with each phase that you get. People told me to get it done as fast as possible. I didn't listen. I'm going to tell you now, get that packet, get Liberty as soon as you possibly can. And if you don't get it done by a certain amount of time, you have to go to EMI, which is Extra Military Instruction. So in other words, at around 17:30-ish, you have to go to a little meeting and you have to go to a forced study session to answer the questions in the packet in order to get Liberty. Avoid all of that. Get the packet done as soon as possible. Enjoy Liberty with your friends in civilian clothes. Don't be a slacker with this because it's going to become really annoying and you have to go to EMI, and if you do go off base, you have to be in uniform. It's not worth it. Just get it over with. So a typical day of A school is to wake up pretty much whenever you want, but you have to be mustered up, which means everybody gathered together, mustered up at 6:30, and that location where you do that can change, so make sure you pay attention. They should have a group chat on GroupMe, which says like what's going on, what to worry about, what to bring, what should be done by that day, what's your homework, and stuff like that. You muster up at 6:30 where they tell you to, in uniform, and you go to class at 7 o'clock, and when the day ends can change from day to day. It might be 1400, it might be 1500, but it can't be much later than that. 1400 should be about average. You're going to go through various different things throughout A school, mostly classroom time, but there's also time at a gun range and other things that you're going to be doing. So Master at Arms A school is broken down into 3 main sections or blocks. Block 1 is learning about deadly force, Block 2 is learning about non-lethal force, and Block 3 is about active shooter training. Block 1 is learning how to use the M9 pistol again, same as boot camp but more in-depth training. There's the M4 rifle and the M500 shotgun. Block 2 covers non-lethal weapons like the baton and OC spray and mock moves. And Block 3 is about responding to active shooters, which has a focus on room clearing. So Block 1 is going to be deadly weapons. They're going to start off with giving you classes and information about the M9 service pistol. So when you start Block 1 of training, which is deadly weapons, the first thing they start you on is a bunch of classes about the M9 pistol. They're going to completely refresh you on how to disassemble it, how to shoot it, how to squeeze the trigger, and a bunch of other information you need to know before you go to the range. After you complete all the classes, you eventually get to the actual gun range, and remember there, safety is the #1 priority. Make sure you do everything they say exactly as they say it, and if they don't say to do something, don't do it. So on the actual gun range, you're going to go through different lines of fire, like 2 rounds in 4 seconds and 4 rounds in 8 seconds, stuff like that. You're also going to go through night fire, which is taken at night, obviously, and they have simulated police lights flashing red and blue, and you're supposed to be able to hit the target at night in the simulation of like responding to a call at midnight. The best advice I can give you for night fire is to hit the target when the target is lit up in red. So it's cycling between red and blue over and over again, like the police lights are going. Try to hit the target when it goes red because it's easier to see than when it's blue. After you get through that, you do the exact same thing with the M4 rifle. You go through classes, you learn how to take it apart and clean it. You go to the range and shoot with it, and you have another chance at another ribbon that you did not have a chance at getting in boot camp. The rifle ribbon looks very similar to the pistol one, except it has an extra stripe in the middle, and again you can qualify for marksman, sharpshooter, or expert. The last deadly weapon you're going to qualify on is the M500 shotgun, which is really an experience. Like, the instructor was so happy to tell us about it and show it to us. We had very good instruction on how to use it and everything, and we went to the range, and it has some serious recoil to it, so prepare yourself for that. So the line of fire for the pistol and rifle is different from the shotgun. For the pistol and rifle, they can judge how accurately you can hit center mass of a single stationary target, but for the shotgun, obviously it's blasting shots out everywhere. Obviously for a shotgun, they can't judge how much of a marksman you are with it because you can't accurately hit one single part of the target, only one area of the target. So for the line of fire, instead of one single target, there's 3 targets in front of you, and you have to blast them in a certain order, like 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, and they judge how many of the shots, they count them with a marker in the target, how many of the shots actually hit the target. Also, because of this difference, there obviously can't be a marksmanship award for the shotgun, only for the pistol and rifle. For the pistol and rifle, they are going to grade your marksmanship, and if you get a better score in A school than you did in boot camp, you can upgrade your ribbon for the pistol marksmanship. For the rifle, you get one because you didn't have one before. You can get expert, sharpshooter, marksman. If you get a better score than boot camp, it replaces it, and if you get a score that's not as good for the pistol, you can keep the higher one from boot camp. Remember to take good notes in class, get a good proper meal before each range day, get a good amount of sleep before each range day, and follow all the safety rules, especially keeping the weapon downrange. So like you have the weapon downrange, it stays downrange. If somebody says something to you, only your head moves. Like, what? What? Don't be like, what did you say? That is a huge safety violation. Don't ever do anything like that. The weapon stays downrange. Block 2 is going to be non-lethal weapons and defense tactics, like what to do if somebody grabs onto your gun, grabs onto your baton and you're trying to get them back, what to do if somebody's coming at you with a knife, and there's like mechanical advantage control holds or mock moves, which is kind of like martial arts to take somebody down to the ground. There's also training on the baton, like where to hit somebody, how to hit somebody, what the blocks are and what kind of strikes there are. There's a whole bunch of stuff to learn, but I don't think you'll find it especially difficult. The main and final event of Block 2 of training is OC spray training. It is extremely painful and powerful, but before you carry it on your belt, you need to understand what you're doing to somebody else in case you actually use it, and there's no better way to understand how it feels than to actually be sprayed yourself while in training. So now that you've learned non-lethal weapons and OC spray techniques, it's time to prove that you know it so well that you can even do it after being OC sprayed on the OC course. So you're going to wake up and like any other day, go to class, except today we're going back outside to the field and you're going to see the different stations set up. It's time to do the OC course. So the class leadership, the class leader, the yeoman, and the MA of the class are going to be the ones to go first. And eventually it's going to just go alphabetical order all the way down to your name, and it's going to be your turn. So with the last name of Beck, it didn't take very long for it to be my turn, and I already told myself whatever happens, happens. Like I know what to do on the course in terms of each station, but I don't know how bad the OC spray is going to feel. So I walked up to where I was supposed to, and I faced away from the instructor, and they told me to turn around, and they sprayed me in the face, and I was just like it didn't hurt or anything, but there was just like something about it that your body just rejects immediately. The best way I can describe being OC sprayed is like, imagine being sunburnt really, really badly from forehead to chin, ear to ear, just this tingling TV static sunburn and just a burning face. And then imagine like opening an oven, you know, like when you check on a pizza or something and the heat comes over your face like this when you open the door. Imagine that constantly over your face. It'll make you extremely sensitive to light, especially like sunlight, but even the lights in your room, like the one I'm looking at here, it would be too much. When you come back, all the lights in your room are off because your eyes cannot handle it. Like as soon as you open your eyes, it's hard to describe how painful it is. And honestly, I screamed. I was like, oh my God. But I started limping almost to the first station. And meanwhile, my nose was just letting loose. I had strings hanging down like this. And it got onto the first person. I couldn't even see him because you can only open your eyes like once every 2 seconds for a little while like this. So I can barely even see where I'm going at first. And my strings got onto the first person that was there. It was really disgusting. And I wanted to apologize later. And they were like, he doesn't want to see you. I was like, I want to give him some money or something because I'm so sorry. So anyways, you finish off the OC course by getting to the red man, who's like the final boss battle of the OC course, and defeat him. And then you get to the water station where you wash out your eyes. You know, try to stay there for about 20 seconds and get the stuff out of your eyes because you don't want those crystals staying in your eyes. You can potentially, in a very, very like 1 in a million chance, go permanently blind or permanent eye damage because you didn't get the crystals out. Some people said they could feel the crystals in their eyes, like glass was in their eyes from the OC spray, but that's not something I experienced, but I'm going to leave it in there because other people did tell me that. Whether you can feel them or not, the crystals are in your eyes and you want to get them out as soon as possible. That's why they give you the water station, but you're not there for very long because other people are coming through the course. So what you can do is just start crying. Force yourself to cry. Think about a sad song or a sad movie or something. Get the crystals out of your eyes because you don't want them to be sitting in there for very long. After that, they take you to go sit down and you're under medical supervision. They hand out a bunch of tissues to people to wipe up their nose, which is still running out like crazy. One of the things that you can bring to the OC course is paper plates to fan your face constantly, and it does help relieve the sunburn, tingling, burning sensation that you have on your face. But if you keep doing it, it seems like it never ends. You just have to keep fanning forever. So the deal you have to make with yourself is, I'm going to stop fanning my face, and the burning is going to get worse, but then it's going to slowly fade away. For me, it was about a half-hour difference between first getting sprayed and it being unbearable, and finally getting to the point where I could open my eyes for more than like 3 seconds at a time. The best advice I can give you for the OC course is just don't get scared or sad when you get sprayed. Get angry, because if you're angry, you're going to be more effective. You can strike harder with the baton and stuff that you're doing. It's going to go better, but remember everything you were taught. Get angry and get through it, and once you're done, go home and don't fall asleep. They tell you not to fall asleep. I'm going to mention it here again anyways. Do not go home and fall asleep, because your eyes are going to be crusted over shut and they have to like open them up. Now, some people did fall asleep and say that didn't happen to them, but at least one person before I got there did fall asleep and they had to do something to open his eyes up because they were crusted shut because of the OC. So after everything is all over with, you're finally going to get the ultimate prize and one of the most important documents you're going to get in your entire career. And that is right here, the OC certificate. Do not lose this. Bad things happen if you lose this. If you lose this, you have to get sprayed again. You have to suffer through this process again. It's not worth it. Make 5, 10, 15 copies of this thing. I used to keep one in my wallet just for kind of because I thought it was funny. But have many copies of this in different places and keep the original. If you've seen the other video I made, the unspoken rules of the military, one of them is to never give an original document. This is the #1 example. Do not ever give anybody the original example you have of this document. After you get home from the OC course, take a shower in your room, but keep your underwear on, because while you're washing the stuff out of your eyes one more time, the stuff runs down your body and it could burn potentially, and you don't want it to hit certain delicate pieces you got down there. So keep your underwear on in that shower when you're washing your face off one more time. So now that block 2 of training is over with, it's time to move on to the third and final part of training. Block 3 is active shooter response, like what to do about an active shooter, hostage situation, room clearing, stuff like that. When I went through this training in 2022, what we had at the time was shock vests, like laser tag. You hit somebody and it would shock them like, ugh! And it did hurt. Like, it didn't hurt that bad, but it did hurt. Later on in training, we also used CO2 guns, like the BB guns that use CO2 to make the projectiles hit harder, but we didn't use BBs in them. It was just empty weapons. And one of the people that I was working with grabbed their magazine outside their gun, and they were kind of messing with it, and they hit the button, and it was just like, pfft! It shot the CO2 out at his face, and it blew his hat off. So after I left, the laser tag style shock vests were replaced with simunition rounds. And what that means is basically real weapons are converted, the barrels are switched out so that you can't fire real ammunition through them. Simunition rounds are non-lethal rounds that you can hit somebody with in a training environment and not hurt them very badly. You're going to wear completely protective equipment and you're going to be safe. It's a very good learning tool, and that's what they use there now. During the last stages of training, the location of the training is going to be moving around constantly, different places all over the base. And especially in the Texas heat, you want to have something to drink to stay hydrated. You want to have some snacks with you to snack on while you're waiting for stuff to happen. In Block 3 of training, you're also going to be taught at TA8 or Training Area 8 what to do in various different scenarios, like what to do if a protest is approaching the gate or a car runs through the gate, that's called a gate runner, like how to guard a pier, what to do about an active shooter. All of it's going to be covered and you're going to be very proficient at it by the end. The most important part of Block 3 of training is the active shooter assessment. So you and a partner are going to team up and you take the test together. You're going to role play as a rover, like 2 people just moving around the base, doing a casual rove, and then you get a call, a simulated call for an active shooter response. They give you a room number and you have to go find the room and respond to the call, take the person into custody, alive or otherwise, and then you do everything correctly, do the radio calls, and then if you pass, congratulations. If all of these things are done, you passed A school. Graduation from A school is nothing like graduation from boot camp. Like when you graduate boot camp, you get into your dress whites and there's music and cannons and rifle flipping and marching and all the kinds of stuff that you would expect from a military ceremony. A school is a lot more low-key than that. A-school graduation for me took place in the small auditorium at Carter Hall. Everybody got their name called. You go up there, you get the certificate, you get your badge, you shake hands with the triad, and you sit down, and that's pretty much it. Even though the ceremony isn't as big as boot camp graduation, that doesn't mean it's less important, because now you finally earned your badge, you can distinguish yourself from the new people that are arriving to the base by wearing it, and you can actually put MA to your name. So instead of being SR, SA, or SN, you can be MASR, MASA, or MASN. That being said, because the ceremony was so small, I actually told my family not to come and visit me during it. You can have your family come and watch you graduate, but I didn't really think it'd be worth it to spend $1,000 to have them come all the way from Wisconsin to Texas and go all the way back just to see me for a few hours, and then that's it. I would say about half of my class brought members of their family to come watch them graduate, and the other half, like me, didn't, because the whole ceremony is only about a half hour long. If you think it's worth it, that's up to you. So you do get lunch breaks during training. Like in Block 1, you're at the gun range. What they'll do is give you MREs at the range. So an MRE is a meal ready to eat. You've probably seen them in movies or at a surplus store or something. Basically, it's like a TV dinner sort of thing that you can make without an oven or a microwave or anything like that. You can make it by cooking it simply with a chemical reaction with water, but don't do it indoors. Make sure you do it outdoors because you don't want to have any hazardous fumes around or whatever. But they do taste pretty good in my opinion, much better than any other TV dinner you'll have. And in Block 2 and Block 3, the lunch break is different. What they do is put the entire class on a bus, like a school bus, and they send them back to the barracks area. Once you get there, you have three options. You either eat at the galley, which is the cafeteria of the base. You can go back to your room and have some food there, or you can eat at the food trucks that are waiting for you there. If you choose to eat at the galley, it's less convenient for time, the food quality won't be as good, but it's cheap, it's free, basically. If you eat at the food trucks, it's more expensive, but it's better for saving time, because lunch breaks aren't that long, and you have to catch the bus to go back. And the food quality is much, much better. It's faster. The only problem is it's expensive. The third option is to go back to your room, but I'm not sure if you have enough food there or the right kinds of food to suffice for an entire lunch. So really the cafeteria and the truck are the main options that you have. Now there's different kinds of food trucks sitting there. When I was there, it was like Asian food or German food or Mexican food or something like that. There was also a truck that served barbecue food that was really popular, but just be careful. Don't spend too much money, and remember, you're only there for a short period of time. Don't go crazy eating out, spending money. It's not worth it. Save your money up for the future. So anyways, after you're done eating, you either get back on the bus that you came from or you just walk back to class where you came from to finish the school day. So after class gets out at say 1400, you're not free to leave the base yet. You have to wait around for the 1600 all hands muster. Now what that means is every student from all the classes, regardless of where they are in training, comes together at 1600 for the all hands muster, where there's a couple of guest speakers, namely the CO, the XO, and the CMC, oftentimes, commanding officer, executive officer, and command master chief, the triad. And they'll show up and tell you some things that you should already know but need to be reminded of, which is no underage drinking, stay out of trouble, keep what you've earned, and stuff like that, which is all very true. They ask if anybody has any questions, they put out some new information that might be coming up, some events that might be coming up, and then after it's over, everybody runs back to their room because now liberty can begin. So you run back to your room, change back to civilian clothes, and you're allowed to get back to the quarterdeck to sign out to leave the base. Now when you leave the base, no matter what phase you are, you have to have somebody with you. It's like a buddy system kind of thing. If you're in phase 1, you have to have 2, and if it's phase 2 and 3, I think you need to have 1. It could have changed since I've been there, but that's what it was when I was there. Don't play games with the liberty system at Lackland, and what I mean by that is like leaving without signing out, or leaving without somebody being with you or coming back late. People talk, people snitch, they're keeping track of it at the desk. It's not worth it. I had a couple of friends that tried getting away with stuff like that. People snitched, people talked, they got caught, and they lost their badge or they got sent back in training. It's really not worth it. Don't mess around with the liberty system at Lackland. So if people don't come back on time, they're going to call an all hands muster at like 1 or 2 in the morning to see who's there and who's not there. In other words, they're going to go door to door, knock on everybody's door, and call everybody out into the main like courtyard parking lot area in front of the main building and do a muster, call off everybody's name one by one, and see who's there and who's not there. So if you thought you were sneaky and got away, they're going to do that to everybody else, which is going to make everybody hate you if they find out it was you. So you do get downtime and off days during training, and I usually spent them either watching movies or hanging out with friends. You know, we like to go to Dairy Queen and Chick-fil-A, go shopping. We went to SeaWorld, which is free for military the first time you go, and you know, the Alamo. There's a lot of really fun things you can do in San Antonio. It's a great city and you'll enjoy it too when you get there. Just don't forget the main reason you're there is to become Navy Military Police, a Master at Arms. Studying for that is the main focus that you have, and everything else is secondary. Getting orders in A school is nothing like getting orders after you complete training. So what happened was a woman came into class one day and she put packets out in front of everybody for PRP. PRP are the people that guard nuclear weapons, and some people don't think it's exactly the best duty you can get. But if it's any kind of volunteer program they put in front of you, I know you just came from boot camp and you're trained to accept all authority and just say yes, petty officer, yes, MA1. It doesn't have to be that way. If it's a voluntary program like PRP, you are able to say no, I don't want it. They also gave us a dream sheet where you can put down the places that you're literally dreaming of going, your wish list of places that you want to go for your first command. And a lot of people put down Japan. I put down South Korea because I wanted Japan, but I figured I would not get it because everybody picked it. And it turned out that none of it mattered because we had no idea about sea and shore rotations and other stuff that comes into play in terms of where you go at certain times in your career. So in the end, I got slammed with Bahrain, but I did enjoy it there. After you leave training and get out into the real Navy, from your first command onward, you actually do get to look at the list and pick where you want to go next and use the seashore rotation to decide where you're going next in your career. If you want to get selected for canine orders, like working with narcotics dogs, bomb sniffing dogs, and stuff like that, the place to get selected for that is at A school. Don't wait until your first command to try to get canine. So like in A school, somebody will literally come into the classroom and say, who here wants to be canine? And everybody raised their hand, and they said, all right, well, if you want to be in canine units, get screened for it, show up here at this time for a meeting here. We're going to conduct some interviews. The time came and went, and it turned out only a few people that raised their hands actually went there. So the people that went almost got it by default. They went through some separate training from us, and they got qualified to be canine units and left Lackland canine qualified. If you get to your first command and volunteer to try to be in a canine unit, it is way, way harder to transfer from regular NSF to canine than it is in A school, where they basically just ask who wants it and they give it to you. At your first command, like if I wanted to be one here, I would have to volunteer at the canine unit for a very long period of time and transfer over. It's a really long process. If you want to be a canine individual in Naval Security Forces, get it in A school, not your first command. There are some titles you can earn in A school, like Top Shot, Honor Graduate, Class Leader, stuff like that, that can make you be promoted early or make you able to pick the orders for your first command, but they're very hard to get. Top Shot is being like the best shot at the gun range. Honor Graduate is like the best person in the class, and Class Leader is the person leading the class, kind of like RPOC. If you can get those titles, you may be promoted early or get to pick orders for your first command, but they're very hard to get. And one of the parameters, at least when I was there, is to never fail a room inspection, which is very difficult because those room inspections can be pretty interesting. So now that A school is over with, you're going to be put into services. And what services is like a pool of labor that they have for people that are on hold or in between things. They'll have them do various tasks around the base as a group, like cleaning out rooms, cleaning up stuff, moving stuff. Whatever they need a bunch of bodies to do, they'll send services to go do it. I was in services for a week or two in between A school and C school. It wasn't bad, the work wasn't hard, and it's not a bad place to meet some new people that you otherwise might not meet. Later on, they gave us a time and a place to go sign up for C school, and they told us if you don't get there on time, you don't class up and you have to stay in services longer. So of course, some people like me were there like a half hour to an hour before the actual time that it was supposed to start, but we got classed up and we got to start C school. Now this was before they combined A school and C school. It was still like this transitional period where they were still two separate things. By the time you get there, they might be combined into one A school, but before that, this is how it worked. There was A school, services, and then C school. Maybe when you get there, it's all just one school. So C School is the law enforcement specialist school, and they're going to teach you a bunch of things in addition to what you already learned in A School. They reteach you some things better. They do teach you new things like fingerprinting, and there's other stuff that they're going to cover. C School is 30 days long, and one thing that's really special about it is it's the first time that you meet first classes and second classes that are working the rating that you're training for, and they have a lot of good stories and advice and information for you that you cannot get necessarily from all the instructors. The most fun you're going to have in C School is at the Emergency Vehicles Operator course, which is the driving school for Master at Arms. The training takes place in a big parking lot. You help to set up all the cones around, and then you get behind the wheel of a Dodge Charger. Everybody takes their turn driving through the course, and there's all kinds of different zips and turns and stuff you have to go through it in order to complete it. A lot of the stuff that you learned in A School is taught again in C School, but in my opinion much better. And it's really a special experience now having second classes and first classes alongside you, providing commentary and additional information while you're going through the training. But you're going to go through refreshers on some stuff like active shooter, and also learn new things like how to respond to alarms, domestic calls, and other situations. And the final test for C School is you get into a police car with a partner, and you go to different stations simulating each one of these calls that you get on the radio. And once you pass all of that, you've completed C School, and all of your MA training is complete. You are going to be standing watch at Lackland during your time in A School and C School. So what's going to happen is after you arrive, they're going to put you in one of the 6 duty sections they have on the base. And once a week, it's going to be your duty section's turn to stand all the watches of the base. The kinds of watches you're going to be standing in A School are pretty similar to the ones in boot camp. In boot camp, it's called security watch. Here it's called access control. And for both of them, they have rovers, the kind of people that just walk around and using unpredictable patterns rove around the base. It's my understanding that they've added some watches after I left, like bridge watch and anchor watch. Those weren't there when I was there. They might be gone again by the time you get there. When it's your duty day, in other words, your duty section's turn to man all the posts around the base, you cannot leave the base. It's your duty day. You can't even be in civilian clothes. You have to be in Navy PT uniform. It's also up to the CDO, the command duty officer of the day, to decide if the duty section can go to the gym or not. If it's your duty day and the gym is approved and you don't have watch, you can go to the gym on your duty day. But if it's your duty day and you don't have watch, you cannot sign out for Liberty and leave the base. If it's your duty day and you do have watch, you're probably going to be standing either a 2-hour or a 4-hour watch. And it might be daytime, it might be nighttime. It doesn't really matter. None of them are really hard. Even if it's a 4-hour watch, I mean really, we're doing 12 hours out here. During A School, there is a day where they take you over to the corpsman base at Fort Sam to help you qualify for Class 2 swimmer. And if you get Class 2 swimmer, you may qualify for better orders than you otherwise might if you don't have it. Like Harbor Patrol, Expeditionary Forces, you don't necessarily need it, but it helps. Stuff like that. If you get Class 2 swimmer, it does look great. It's not that hard to get. And if you don't get Class 2 swimmer the first time, you do get more opportunities to retest until you get it. Also really quick, yes, you can bring your car, your personal vehicle on base and have it approved by the command to park it in the parking lot. Yes, you can receive mail. I had my gaming computer mailed over to the base and I used it in my room. Just don't have them send fireworks to your room or something. But you have to go to the post office to go pick it up. And yes, you can keep using your phone that you received after boot camp. You can keep using it. You're free to use it, unlike boot camp where you can't use it at all. You're free to use it. Just don't use it in class because it's disrespectful to the teachers. And yes, there is a grocery store on base called the Commissary, but it's really far away. You have to get there by bus or your personal vehicle, load the trunk up. You have to sign out to go there at the quarterdeck. In situations where I found myself wanting groceries, I either went to the Mini Next, which is walking distance from the barracks area, or I just went to Walmart off base and picked up some stuff that I couldn't find on base anyways. Even though there's a whole bunch of people that you talk to and you're friends with and you go to class with them, only pick out about 1 or 2 people that you actually confide in. And for me, he's right there over my shoulder in that picture, meeting Obi-Wan with me at Comic-Con in Texas. One person that I really trusted and confided in, and I knew that if I told him something, the whole base would know about it in 6 hours. He trusted me, and I trusted him with our personal information, and we stayed that way. We still talk to this day. This is the best advice I can possibly give you. Don't get restricted. Like, don't get in trouble for dumb stuff. Don't get caught doing dumb stuff, underage drinking, stealing, being late, going off base on your duty day. Don't do anything stupid like that. Remember one thing, if you forget everything else from this video, your job is to get there, get your badge, and leave. Nothing else matters. That's the main thing I can tell you. If you forget everything else, remember that. The very last thing that I can tell you is that A school and C school are not the real military. You're still in a training environment. So just don't take anything personally. Do everything you're told, do everything right, get good grades, get your badge, and leave. That's all that matters. You get there, you receive the badge, and you leave. That's all that matters.